This morning, Jewish students are demanding action from Washington. They say they're living in fear on college campuses as the war rages between Israel and Hamas.
Here's the context. It's open season on Jews on our campus.
A congressional committee yesterday hosted students from 9 schools, including Harvard, MIT, Columbia, and Stanford, who implored lawmakers to hold their universities accountable. The students accused the schools of not doing enough to fight increasing hatred toward Jews.
Systemic change is needed. The universities have proven they have no intention of fixing themselves.
The students shared stories of harassment and assault on campus, claiming their complaints often go ignored.
We have been attacked with sticks outside of our library. We have been surrounded by angry mobs, and we have been threatened to, quote, keep running.
This past Monday at UC Berkeley, protesters shattered glass doors at an auditorium where a former member of the Israeli Defense Force was scheduled to speak.
I was more than prepared to give this opening before Monday night, but I had to rewrite my remarks due to a violent riot targeting Jews at Berkeley.
UC Berkeley says it's investigating. The presidents of several schools were grilled on Capitol Hill back in December, some later resigning. Some schools have insisted they are addressing concerns about anti-Semitism, saying security is a top priority. At Harvard, the co-chair of the school's anti-Semitism task force resigned this week. Some observers call it another setback for efforts to address the issue on campus.
3 News investigative reporter Peter Fleischer uncovers the really shocking numbers that highlight hatred is on the rise, and he also speaks with one local student who is determined to work towards a better future.
Adam Saar is a junior at Case Western Reserve University. The son of Israeli parents who raised him in New York State, he's the founder and president of the Jewish Student Union. He's poured so much of himself into life at school, but today, walking around campus, his heart is somewhere else.
Israel is my home. I would not be here without it.
For the last year since the Hamas attack on October 7th, 2023, Saar has felt like his home and his people are under attack.
I've certainly felt like there's been a target on my back at times.
Amid the ongoing protests and encampments, Saar says the level of hatred and violence is shocking in a way that he's never seen before. Within the last month alone, Jewish students at the University of Michigan and the University of Pittsburgh have reportedly been targets of physical violence.
Jewish students on every campus feel under attack, feel like they have to defend their community, defend themselves, prioritize their safety.
It's impacting people across our communities. And so when we see this rise in anti-Semitism, it doesn't just affect the Jewish community, it affects everyone.
Kelly Fishman, regional director for the Anti-Defamation League, says data from across the country can put Saar's fears into real, tangible numbers.
We've really seen numbers skyrocket, especially since post-October 7th.
According to the FBI, hate crimes against Jewish Americans increased by more than 63% in 2023. The ADL also keeps its own count of anti-Semitic incidents. By their numbers, there were more than 8,800 incidents of assault, harassment, and vandalism, the most since they started tracking data in 1979, and the region in and around Northeast Ohio saw an even larger increase.
We saw a 250% increase in anti-Semitic incidents, which is even higher than the national increase.
People feel emboldened to not just say mean things, but to do awful things to members of our community.
Jason Wooliger, chair of the Government Relations Committee for the Jewish Federation of Cleveland, sees firsthand the impact on families across the Northeast Ohio area.
There's fear about what the future is going to look like. We see it in every aspect of Jewish life.
Less than a week before the anniversary of October 7th, conflict in the Middle East only escalated when Iran launched nearly 200 missiles into Israel. For many, it's difficult to see a path to peace in Israel's short-term future. Yet, during this time of the high holy holidays, local Jewish leaders remain resilient.
We will overcome what's going on right now, and we will come out the other side stronger than ever before.
Saar is the youngest of them all, and yet he approaches the issue with measured perspective.
no side is perfect. There isn't a good or an evil. Simply a lot of humans who are stuck in a cycle of vitriol and hate and fear.
1 year after the tragic attack on October 7th, he hopes the days ahead will build bridges rather than burn them.
And the only outcome that really benefits us all is to seek to understand each other.
The ADL just released a new report within the last week describing how anti-Semitism has risen. The group says they're particularly alarmed by both extremist far-right hate groups growing emboldened in our area, as well as younger generational support for terrorist organizations that has only increased over the last year.
Excuse me. You hang out here a lot, right?
What's that?
You hang out here a lot.
We're here all the time, 24 hours.
Do you think the anti-Semitism at Columbia is real?
I don't know. We don't really get
Do you
too
ever see
involved
any
in that.
swastikas and stuff?
I haven't seen swastikas.
I spoke to a bunch of kids.
I've seen
constantly.
some of the trucks and the banners and posters and all that stuff around, yeah.
But that's organized.
Yeah, I think so.
I spoke to a lot of students, like the Palestinian kids. I said, if you saw Jewish students in school, and they're like, no way.
Yeah.
But when you look at TV, they're talking about they're using anti-Semitic slurs.
A lot of this stuff I noticed last year when it was going on, the protest. We'd go by and there'd be organizations on the street. They weren't Columbia kids. I mean, the Columbia kids were on the campus all intense, and they were on 116. But Broadway was lined with these other groups that were just pitching their own websites. It was, they were just taking advantage of the situation.
But I asked random kids, including Jewish students, with a yarmulke and everything. I said, have you ever experienced anti-Semitism? Like, no. But on TV, that's the way they see it.
Yeah.
Right? He agrees?
Rabbit?
You agree, right?
I don't think it's on like a personal level for them. It's more of the show, It's more of the...
I'm asking him about anti-Semitism at Columbia. It's only on TV.
Yeah, I don't think that
those kids are just normal kids.
I don't think that it's in part of their lives, Except for these other organizations that jump on the bandwagon.
Exactly. And I spoke to them too. I said, who's funding this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's grassroots, they tell me. I'm like...
They did. When the police raided that building to get the protesters out of there was a picture of one of them fighting the cops. It was like a 50-year-old man. He had a mask on, He wasn't a student.
Yeah, should we not put these in our zone?
In our zone? You don't have to put it in the zone. I mean, leave it up if it's there already.
I asked them.
We'll try to get our parking spots, our cars out of the zone if spots open up.
I said, who's behind it? Who's funding? Who's paying for all this? Oh, it's grassroots. I'm like, this thing is all over Australia, all over the world. That's not grassroots. Anyway, thanks for chatting.
I had a whiteboard on my dorm room door that people have written 6 million wasn't enough. They've written Free Palestine. I've had swastikas drawn on it.
How are you, man? Let me ask you something. Is the anti-Semitism at Columbia real, or is it bullshit?
No, it's not.
Bullshit.
Yeah, but... I know, but I've never heard of it.
Anything on TV. But you don't see shit. All these kids look, they're not living in fear.
Nah, who isn't
My dad's family immigrated here from Iran in the 70s. They were kicked out of our village, Rasht, back in Iran, and forced here into the US. He ended up converting to Catholicism after I was born. And so I didn't grow up with Jewish parents, so when I got into high school and everything, it was hard to relate to other Jewish people. I've come to really accept my Jewish identity a lot. I wear my yarmulke every day now. Before October 7th, when I was moving up into my dorms for the start of university, for the start of college, my parents had told me that they didn't want me to wear anything that signified that I was Jewish, and that they didn't want me to put a mezuzah on my dorm or wear my yarmulke or anything like that, because they were just terrified. After October 7th, I sort of stopped listening to their advice. That's when I put my yarmulke on. That's when I bought a mezuzah and put it on my dorm room door, because after the atrocities in Israel, I just realized that there was no point in hiding and being ashamed of who I was, and that I should be proud.
Yeah, exactly. We had a great conversation. He was like, we should get together, and then...
Excuse me, guys. Is the anti-Semitism at the school real, or is it made up?
Sorry, I don't want to answer anything.
You don't want to answer? Do you think Plato and Socrates wouldn't want to answer?
We're doing like a class right now. We're doing a class. So
Don't you want to talk anti-Semitism? Is it real?
But like we can't really talk about this because we're doing a class. So if you wanted to ask like someone else, not
Okay, I'll ask someone else. This is higher learning, right?
It's called my internet hasn't been approved yet.
Excuse me. The anti-Semitism that I'm hearing about, is it real? On CNN, they said Jewish students are living in fear.
I don't know. You'd have to contact the media team here to have somebody.
Yeah, the media team is where all the bullshit is coming from.
Honestly, I don't know.
All right, thank you.
And after October 7th, and after doing all these things that make me more noticeably Jewish, I've received a lot more anti-Semitism than I have ever before. Right now on campus, it's terrifying to be a Jew. I had a whiteboard on my dorm room door that people have written 6 million wasn't enough. They've written Free Palestine. I've had swastikas drawn on it. I've had hateful stuff said to me while I've been walking on campus. People will call me a Palestinian killer, a colonizer. I have been spat on as I've walked through my campus's main section. I've had a lot of friends who've experienced worse and more things than I have. On October 7th, I found out that I had lost 2 of my cousins in the Nova Music Festival massacre.
Can I ask you a question? The anti-Semitism that they're reporting at these schools, is it real? What? Anti-Semitism. You know what I'm talking about, right? They said Jewish students are living in fear.
What about it?
Is it true?
Yes, that's why we here.
You've seen that?
Did I see it for myself?
Yeah.
Nah.
I think it's bullshit. I asked some Jewish students with a yarmulke. I said, have you experienced anything? You know what I'm talking about? I had some Palestinian kids, you know, the one with the... I said, you go to Columbia? Yeah. I said, if you saw a Jewish student, would you say nasty things to them? And they said, we have no problems with Jews. It's Israel they have a problem with. The country, the politics. And none of them, I said, you see a Jewish student, you would say nasty things and like draw a swastika and stuff. And they're like, no, what are you talking about? But when you look at CNN, they talk about Jewish students are living in fear. They can't walk safely through the school. And look at you, you're chilling, right? Bullshit. Once it's on TV, it's bullshit. Guaranteed. Yeah. So I just say, let me come up and see for myself. Like, everyone is normal. Look, nobody is. Have a good one.
My soul was shattered. When I contacted my campus's mental health lines and support systems, I stated to the mental health resources that I was Jewish and that I had 2 cousins who had just been killed in a massacre in Israel, and that I was reaching out for help in order to
You go to Columbia? You go to Columbia?
Yes, sir.
Yo, the anti-Semitism we're hearing about, is it real? Have you seen anything yourself? Not what you see on TV.
I have personally. I don't live on campus. I live outside.
You still see something.
Yeah. So I'm only saying that because it might affect what I can see and hear. Because I have a child who's 4 and I'm married, so can I come to school, just do my stuff, and just go back home?
So there's no swastikas or...
Again, I will speak for myself. I have not seen, but that doesn't mean that there is or there is not.
But you haven't seen. What are you studying?
I'm a law student in the JD program.
All right, man. Thank you.
You take care.
grieve properly and to be able to talk to someone about what I was feeling and what I was going through. I was told I wasn't able to access those resources. What people interpret when I tell them that I'm a Zionist, or when they assume that I'm a Zionist, is that I'm 100% supportive of Israel's actions and that I want Palestinian people killed. That is not at all what Zionism means to me. And Zionism for me is about a longing and a cultural connection to not just the land of Israel, but to the Jewish people as a whole. What I wish that non-Jews would do is that I would hope that they would stand up for us, for me and all of my Jewish brothers and sisters.
This morning, Jewish students are demanding action from Washington. They say they're living in fear on college campuses as the war rages between Israel and Hamas.
Here's the context. It's open season on Jews on our campus.
A congressional committee yesterday hosted students from 9 schools, including Harvard, MIT, Columbia, and Stanford, who implored lawmakers to hold their universities accountable. The students accused the schools of not doing enough to fight increasing hatred toward Jews.
Systemic change is needed. The universities have proven they have no intention of fixing themselves.
The students shared stories of harassment and assault on campus, claiming their complaints often go ignored.
We have been attacked with sticks outside of our library. We have been surrounded by angry mobs, and we have been threatened to, quote, keep running.
This past Monday at UC Berkeley, protesters shattered glass doors at an auditorium where a former member of the Israeli Defense Force was scheduled to speak.
I was more than prepared to give this opening before Monday night, but I had to rewrite my remarks due to a violent riot targeting Jews at Berkeley.
UC Berkeley says it's investigating. The presidents of several schools were grilled on Capitol Hill back in December, some later resigning. Some schools have insisted they are addressing concerns about anti-Semitism, saying security is a top priority.
At Harvard, the co-chair of the school's anti-Semitism task force resigned this week. Some observers call it another setback for efforts to address the issue on campus.
And after October 7th, and after doing all these things that make me more noticeably Jewish, I've received a lot more anti-Semitism than I have ever before. Right now on campus, it's terrifying to be a Jew. I had a whiteboard on my dorm room door that people have written 6 million wasn't enough. They've written Free Palestine. I've had swastikas drawn on it. I've had hateful stuff said to me while I've been walking on campus. People will call me a Palestinian killer, a colonizer. I have been spat on as I've walked through my campus's main section. I've had a lot of friends who've experienced worse and